Hello everyone. Welcome to Options with Doug, streaming live daily on Bookmap Discord and the Bookmap YouTube channel at 1:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Before I get started, I need to go through the disclosures. General disclosure. All Bookmap Limited materials, information, and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure. Trading futures, equities, and options involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results. The focus of my presentation and the focus of the Options-Doug chat channel in Discord is options, order flow, the impact of options markets on stocks and futures, and the influence of market maker hedging flow on price action. I have a two-step process for trading, and the first is planning, and I use positional analysis. I look at how traders and market makers are positioned in the options market and how those positions change from day to day to develop a thesis regarding the expected trading range and volatility for the day, as well as a directional bias. And the second step in my process is execution. And I look at real-time order flow in Bookmap and real-time market maker hedging flow in Spotgamma Hero to confirm my thesis, and for setups for entries and exits. And when I talk about setups today, I will be talking about setups in an underlying asset. Setups can be taken with futures, shares of stock, or options. Questions and comments are welcome, and I will be watching both the Options-Doug chat channel in Discord as well as the chat in YouTube for your questions and comments. So please feel free to post. And Victor Ben, glad what I'm doing is helpful. That's great. That makes me very happy to hear that. Keep up the good work. And CarmFX, hello to you. Welcome. Glad you're here. All right, my agenda for today, what I want to cover is news items for today, the rest of the week, economic data, events, earnings. Then I'll go through my positional analysis. Then I want to review some setups from this morning, and then then I'll talk about the live market. And when I get to the live market, if anyone has had any stocks they want me to take a look at, please let me know. All right, so first of all, economic data. Apparently, there was another downgrade today sometime. I don't know if it was overnight or this morning. Moody's downgraded the credit rating of 10 banks, and that might have been somewhat of a reason for the move down this morning. All right, so that is today, and then for the rest of the week, the key high impact data. First of all, CPI data comes out on Thursday at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time, and then PPI data comes out at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Time on Friday, and then on Friday, Michigan Consumer Sentiment is out at 10 a.m. All right, so those are the news items. Now let me get started with positional analysis. I'm going to go start with the S&P 500. This is the ES futures in Bookmap. And before I take a closer look at this chart, I want to take a look at a larger time frame. This is SPX, a 30-day 1-hour chart showing key levels and also the trend of price again over the last 30 days. Let me zoom in on this chart so we can see the current price a little bit more clearly. So this is showing the kind of the break of the uptrend last Wednesday. That was the Fitch downgrade of U.S. debt, and the downtrend continues after that downgrade. Let me point out the levels on this chart. First of all, the dashed purple lines are showing the lower and upper weekly expected move, and SPX is trading still within that range, above the lower and below the upper weekly expected move. The dashed blue lines, not the same case here. Dashed blue lines show the daily expected move. Both of these are based on, just come from the options market. And note that SPX is trading below the lower daily expected move, again shown with the dashed blue lines. And there are also some key Spotgamma levels on this chart, shown with the dark red horizontal lines. And the first is the 4,500 level. That's right here. And that is the put wall. That is Spotgamma's support level. The put wall is a strike with the largest net negative gamma that can be expected to act as support. That's a key level. That is also the absolute gamma strike. And that is the strike with the largest absolute gamma, positive and negative. So 45, a very key pivotal level for the SPX. And SPX is trading below that level now. Then the next level up is the volatility trigger at 45.20, and that is Spotgamma's proprietary gamma flip level. Below that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is negative. In a negative gamma environment, market makers have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure, and that tends to enhance or increase volatility. And I'll show you a graphical representation of that in a few minutes with the Vanna model. So right now, SPX is trading below its volatility trigger in a negative gamma environment. And then on the other hand, above that level, market makers' position on the gamma curve is positive. And in a positive gamma environment, market makers have to trade against price to hedge their delta exposure, and that tends to subdue volatility. And then finally, the call wall is at 4,600. That's the strike with the largest net positive gamma, and that can be expected to act as resistance. So the key points here are the SPX is trading below its lower daily expected move, is trading below its put wall, and below the volatility trigger. And note there were a few shifts in levels for the SPX and SPY. Both the volatility triggers and put wall shifted higher. All right, let's take a look at another SPX chart just to get a closer look at the levels that are in play for today. This is SPX in a 1 day, 1 minute chart. Let's just zoom in on this. So you can see here that SPX is trading below the volatility trigger in negative gamma environment, also below the put wall, the key 4,500 pivot level, and also the lower daily expected move. And one other thing that I should point out on the larger time frame here, note the large gap in gamma levels from actually this 4,500 combo L5 level all the way down to 4,400. Very large gap in gamma levels. And what that might mean is that I think that opens up the potential for a fast move down to 4,500 before the next level of support. And know that is that's slightly below the lower weekly expected move. All right, let's go back to Bookmap now. In a Bookmap, I have my cloud notes here, and I'm showing the SPX levels as well as SPY levels. So here's the SPY 447 put wall, and now the S&P 500 is trading above that level, traded below it earlier today. Note the, let me zoom just a little bit here, and note the SPY 448 level. That's a combo 3 level, combining SPX and SPY Gamma into one level. That level did act as resistance earlier today. And then price moved down to just above the SPY 445 level. That's a large Gamma 4 level. All right, so those levels in play again. Here's the SPY 447 put wall. And if I zoom a little bit, so right here, this is the SPY 451 volatility trigger, and there are two lines there. The SPX volatility trigger is just about at that same level. Oops. All right, so those are the levels in play today for the S&P 500. Both SPX and SPY levels, and we'll talk about setups in a few minutes. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ. So again, remember, shifts for levels for the S&P 500, volatility triggers and put walls shifted higher for the S&P 500, SPX, and SPY. Let's take a look at NASDAQ. This is NQ futures. I'm going to take a look at a QQQ chart first, just so we can take a look at the key levels. And note that the 373 level, that's not a gamma level, did act as resistance earlier today before the cash open. Here's the put wall at 370. And now QQQ is trading above that level after apparently finding support at the 369 level. Again, not a spot gamma level, but a round number. QQQ round number. All right, so those are the QQQ levels in play for today. And I'm showing those on my chart as well. And note, this is the, right here I have two white lines. This is the label for the NDX 15,192 combo 2 level, just below the 370 put wall. And note that NQ is trading below its lower daily expected move. And again, there's the 373 resistance and the 369 support. And again, we'll talk about setups in a few minutes. So there were really no shifts in levels for the NASDAQ. The NDX volatility trigger did shift lower by 10 points, which is not significant. All right, so those are the levels in play today for the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ. And for NASDAQ, mainly QQQ round numbers in play. All right, let's take a look at gamma notional now. We'll take a look at gamma notionals, see how market makers were positioned in the options market at the beginning of the day. So I'm looking at gamma notional for SPX, SPY, NDX, and QQQ. And What this is showing is that market maker's position on the gamma curve at the beginning of the day was negative for SPX, SPY, and QQQ, and I generally don't pay any attention to NDX. So these numbers did shift higher. They are less negative than yesterday, but all still negative. So at the beginning of the day, market maker's position on the gamma curve was negative. This indicates that in this portion of the gamma curve, traders are long puts, market makers are short puts, and they have to trade with price to hedge their delta exposure. So if price drops, they need to, and implied volatility increases, they need to sell futures. And then on the other hand, if price increases, they can buy back their short futures. So again, all these numbers negative, but less negative than yesterday. All right, let's take a look at the Vanna model now, and we can see an illustration of this. Let me take a look at, go back to one thing here. We'll start with SPX. So we see the low of the day for SPX was around 44.64. All right, so I'm going to open up the Vanna model and note the gamma notional for SPX was mildly negative. So this Vanna model curve is typical of a, I guess a slightly negative to neutral negative gamma. So what this chart is showing, or gamma position, I'm sorry. So what this chart is showing is delta notional, market maker's delta notional in the vertical axis, price for SPX. On the horizontal axis, there are two curves on this chart. The light gray curve is showing how market maker's delta notional changes with changes in price only. And then the purple curve adds implied volatility to the equation. It is showing how market maker's delta notional changes with changes in price and implied volatility. And that change in delta with a change in implied volatility is the Vanna effect. That's a second order Greek. So what this chart is showing is if price decreases, market makers will need to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure. Their delta exposure increases, they want to remain delta neutral, so they have to sell futures. And then on the other hand, if price increases and implied volatility drops, they can buy back their short futures. All right, let's take a look at, first of all, SPX traded down right around 44.64. There's 44.65. So in the low of the day, market maker's position on the gamma curve was firmly in this negative region, this left skew where they are selling futures as price decreases and buying back short futures as price increases. All right, SPX right now is trading around 44.80. All right, so still firmly in the negative portion of this Vanna curve. So again, in a negative gamma environment, on this portion of the Vanna model, we're expecting larger moves enhanced by market makers trading with price. All right, so that is SPX. We'll take a quick look at SPY. So right now, SPY is trading right around 447. So trading above the low of the day, but still firmly in the negative portion of the negative gamma portion of the Vanna model here. So again, expecting larger moves, market makers trading with price. Then finally, QQQ. This curve of Vanna model, again, very characteristic of a negative gamma environment. A sharp skew to the left. QQQ trading right around 370, 370.50, just above the put wall, but well below the volatility trigger at 376 volatility trigger. So firmly in the negative gamma portion of the of this Phantom model here. One thing to point out is the news that I mentioned, news items coming out later on in the week, CPI data and PPI data. So if this negative gamma position persists into Thursday and Friday, I would expect a large move, somewhat similar to last year. In a persistent negative gamma environment, there were often very large moves after the CPI report came out every month, often not as bad as expected or better than expected, and price would rally, implied volatility would drop, and market makers could buy back their short futures, contributing to a sharp rally after the CPI reports. So that's something that you want to look for in a negative gamma environment, a larger move after key data like CPI data. All right, so that's the Vanna model. Now let's start with actually, so my thesis for the day was really looking for higher volatility. That was essentially my thesis for the day based on the negative gamma positioning. All right, let's take a look at some setups now, review some setups. Whoops. So I'm going to start with the S&P 500, and I'm going to start with this hero signal here, and we'll see what options traders have been doing today. And by the way, remember from yesterday that options traders were taking negative delta positions pretty much throughout the day, and it looks like they really excuse me, they really didn't get paid yesterday, but they are getting paid today, or at least they were earlier in the day. So this is the hero signal. This is provided to Spotgamma subscribers. HERO stands for Hedging Impact and Real-Time Options. This is showing price for SPX, that's shown with the white line, and then market maker options trades, traders options trades, and the corresponding market maker hedging activity for a combined signal for SPX, SPY, XSP, and ES futures. So if you trade any form of the S&P 500, whether you're trading ES futures, SPY shares, SPY options, or SPX options, this is generally the signal that you want to take a look at, the combined signal. So when traders are taking negative delta positions, market makers are taking the other side of those positions, so they have to sell futures to hedge their delta exposure to remain delta neutral. All right, let's take a closer look at this now. I'm going to zoom in. So note the hero signal was trending down this morning, really making lower highs up until about somewhere between 11 and 11:30. So let's go take a look at Bookmap now. And of course the setup for this morning was to go short. I'm going to zoom in. We'll look at data from around just after 9 a.m. to noon. So remember, from the open, options traders were taking negative delta positions. So let's look at order flow now. So first of all, we see the kind of a double top, the two test of the SPY 448 level that acted as resistance. And after the second test, note the aggressive sellers coming in. That was right after the cash open. That's shown by the pink volume dots or the magenta volume dots, showing aggressive sellers. Those are market sell orders selling as price tested that 448 level. And that bearish order flow really continues almost down to SPY 446 before a few aggressive buyers come in. And note the large option traders were buying with iceberg orders. That's shown by the rising light blue line there. And that is pretty typical behavior for larger traders, buying weakness and selling strength with large iceberg orders they use to hide their size. And then on the other hand, you can see the falling cumulative volume delta, as well as the falling yellow line showing sell stop orders fueling the move lower. So here's some of the sell stop orders shown by these bright red dots, helping to fuel the move lower. All right, so the target would have been the 445 level, the SPY 445 level, and price did not quite make it down to that level. All right, so that was the obvious short setup this morning, and now it looks like price consolidated for almost 2 hours, just around and below the SPY 446 level before finally moving higher. So the larger traders with their iceberg orders are finally starting to get paid. All right, let's take a look at NASDAQ. So let's go back to Hero. So we know that options traders were taking negative delta positions, and really that so that slowed down from about 11 to just after 1 o'clock, and then they're starting to take negative delta positions again in the S&P 500. Let's see what they're doing. So the rising orange line and the positive value here, positive notion of value, shows that traders are buying calls. That's very typical behavior in an index. Traders buying calls and buying puts. That's shown by the falling blue line and the negative notional value there. And so far the put buyers are more aggressive than the call buyers, minus 5 billion versus positive 2 billion. And for most of the morning, the put buyers were rewarded until again around noon, when price started to move higher as aggressive buyers came in. And let's go back to the total signal. Let's see what zero DTE traders are doing. So zero DTE traders, looking at notional value here for the green line, that's about 2 billion, versus the purple line, which is all expirations. That is today, tomorrow, Friday, next week, next month, all expirations. So today, the zero DTE trades, the options that expire today, that is making up about 2/3 of the total notional value today for the S&P 500. All right, let's go on to NASDAQ now. And we'll take a look at the live market in a few minutes. Let's go to NASDAQ. And not as clear a signal to me for the NASDAQ as there was for the S&P 500. Definitely for the morning. We'll zoom in on this. So this is a combined signal showing options trades and market maker hedging activity for NDX and QQQ. So for the first few minutes in the morning, up in first 20 minutes, there was a confirmation and then some confirmation short. And then traders started coming in and taking positive delta positions, and then that leveled off. So for me, Hero was not nearly as clear and helpful for the NASDAQ. That's not always the case, but for today, as the S&P 500. So let's go take a look at Bookmap. We'll do a quick read of the order flow. And here's the reversal before the cash open that I mentioned at QQQ 373. And then price broke below the lower daily expected move. You can see the aggressive sellers coming in there. And price moved down all the way to the 369 level. And note here, the larger traders, first of all, looking at the falling light blue line, larger traders were selling with iceberg orders, so they were on the right side of the trade this morning. And this is the falling yellow line showing sell stop orders. So there's the sell iceberg. There are also buy iceberg orders there. The sell stops, all helping to fuel the move lower. And note that aggressive buyers did start to come in. Right around here, but it took a couple of hours and a pretty substantial move lower before they are being rewarded. And note the cumulative volume delta line is rising, starting around when these larger volume dots come in. All right, so that is the NASDAQ. Let's go back to Hero and let's just check and see what 0 DTE traders are doing in NASDAQ. And making up a pretty large portion of the hedging flow today up until about the last 15 minutes or so. Now it looks like, just comparing notional values, 0 DTE at the current time is about half of the order flow of the hedging flow today. All right, let's take a look at some stocks now. I'm going to start with Apple. Let's just zoom in on the morning here. Note this is a nice divergence long in Apple. Note just a few minutes, maybe 3-4 minutes after the open, options traders start to come in and take positive delta positions. Let's go take a look at Bookmap. Let's go to Apple. So here's the first divergence long. And price moved down. Let's go take a look at Hero again. And this next long was not really confirmed by options traders as Hero continued after about 11:20 to move down. All right, so that is Apple. Let's take a look at AMD. And Karma FX, yes, I will definitely take a look at Tesla today. So really the interesting thing about AMD here is a couple of large block orders that's shown by the vertical line here in Hero. So these are bullish options trades in AMD. And let's see if we can figure out what they were. So first of all, we'll take a look at puts and calls. So we know that some large institution sold a bunch of puts around 11:15 and then 11:30. All right, let's see let's take another deep dive into this, and we'll separate out the next expiration, which in the case of a stock would be a Friday expiration. Next expiration, so for single stocks, there are no 0 DTE except on Friday, so there are weekly expirations. All right, so the next expiry for puts is shown by this kind of light blue line there, cyan maybe, I'm not sure, and then call shown by the green line. So what this is options that expire beyond this week. That's all we know there. So longer term position. So somebody is taking more of a longer term position in AMD selling puts. We'll take a quick look at Bookmap. So really that had no impact on AMD today. So overall still pretty negative bearish order flow here for AMD. And one other thing I want to take a look at is, let's go back to Hero. I'm going to jump down to IWM. I don't have IWM in Bookmap, but this is interesting that, let me take a look at one thing. All right, so the RTY, we'll just compare IWM with QQQ. So IWM down about 0.93% versus QQQ 1.2%. So IWM still down for the day, but not down as far as the QQQ. So a little bit less bearish for IWM today, but options traders are definitely taking positive delta positions in IWM today, and that helped to set up a nice divergence long as options traders were taking positive delta positions, and then price reversed higher right around 1020 or so. All right, the next is Meta. And note that 310 is the key gamma strike. And it looks like around that level did act as support. And in the morning, options traders were taking negative delta positions, confirming short setup in Meta. So Meta, there were multiple, actually, I'll just draw that with this tool. So multiple pullbacks for shorts to VWAP, to the 315 level, to the 314 level, and on with the target. Price didn't quite make it to that 310 key gamma strike. And note all the liquidity in that level acting as a magnet for price. Liquidity that comes in at the cash open. That's pretty typical of stocks. Nice target there, high liquidity, also the key gamma strike. And then the put wall is down below at 307.50. All right, Microsoft, also confirmation short. Strong correlation between options trades, hedging flow, and price action. And multiple short setups. There's the first, if you missed that. Entry at 326, 325. And note this shift in order flow here. I normally don't look at CVD with single stocks. Sometimes it helps. I think it just helps to illustrate the shift in order flow here. Note all the green volume dots, aggressive buyers start to come in, and the shift higher in cumulative volume delta. So nice short setup here in Microsoft this morning. Let's go back and take a look at Hero. So traders were selling calls. Let's just zoom in. So up until around 10:30, they were selling calls and buying puts. And then around 10:45, they stop buying puts and start selling puts. And that's shown by the rising blue line there. So as aggressive buyers came in, well, first of all, the sequence, traders stopped buying puts, started selling puts, and then they stopped selling calls. That activity leveled off, and then remember the shift in order flow, aggressive buyers start to come in, and so far that has not really led to much of an up move. Maybe now, but it certainly halted the move down. Now it looks like a large block trade here. Positive delta. All right, let's go back and take a look at Bookmap. And Microsoft trying to move higher. All right, the next is NVIDIA. Very interesting day in NVIDIA. Let's start by looking at Hero. Go to NVIDIA. Zoom in on this. So first of all, I'm going to go to the portion here before the news came out. So in the morning, hedging flow options trades definitely negative. Confirmation short. Note that that activity levels off and price consolidates. All right, let's go take a look at Bookmap. That's up to about 1120. It's right around here. All right, so as options traders were taking negative delta positions, price breaks below this early wedge pattern this morning at VWAP and the 450 level, moves down several points toward the liquidity target at 445. And now we'll scroll over here. And as far as I can tell, this was news. Something about a new Grace Hopper superchip platform. So the news bots, algos that read the news, saw that and initially reacted very bullish. Note the buy sweeps. That's shown by the small green dots. Also the aggressive buyers shown by the large volume dots. Buy sweep up to 451 and then price reverses sharply lower. Down to, and note all the sell sweeps shown by the bright red dots, down to 441. So a quick 9-point move lower. Big gaps in volume there, not much liquidity. It was such a sharp move lower. And then aggressive buyers start to come in. So let's go back to Hero. And right around 1150, aggressive options traders started taking positive delta positions, moving price higher. And note again, here's a large block order, institutional order, positive delta. All right, let's take a look at Tesla. So Tesla, there is very often a very strong correlation between options trades, hedging flow, and price action. So the initial trade this morning was short up until about 950, and then options traders started taking positive delta positions, setting up that divergence long. Let's go take a look at that. Oops. So here's the first divergence long in Tesla this morning. And then there was another one, just looking at these trend breaks, pullbacks. And another nice divergence long right around 1145. That was the second one that I had shown on the chart as traders started taking positive delta positions. Go back to Bookmap. So here's the second long. Note the trend break, pullback, as options traders were taking positive delta positions. And let's check for gamma levels. So the hedge wall is at 252.50. 250 is not a gamma level, but it is a high liquidity level. Note these sellers, these orders were consumed earlier today, and they were again just a couple of minutes ago. Let's just zoom into this more closely. So now it looks like, well, they may have pulled. No, it looks like those orders were most likely filled. And note then they came in and with buy orders, limit buy orders. And you can see the absorption indicator showing that. That's what that light blue square means. So orders here, these were sellers at 250. Those orders were consumed, and then they came in and were buyers at 250. That's a flip of the order book, and then those orders were consumed. All right, so Karma FX says the 268 level feels so real to me, like it's headed in that direction. I'm just unsure of when and how long. So let's take a look at, well, certainly not today, not in play for today, and let's see what the gamma structure looks like a little bit further out in time. So I want to go to, let's go to Equity Hub. Take a look at my watch list. We'll take a look at Tesla. So this is the composite view chart showing that throughout the price range shown on this chart, the usual price range, that it is all put dominated. That's and it's kind of a moderate level there. Let's take a look at this put call impact chart. We can zoom in on this. So here's the 270 level, 267 below that, so 270 is the call wall. All right, so this level, the call wall is a, I'm sorry, the key gamma strike and the call wall are both at 260. But there is pretty significant gamma at the 270 level. So the key gamma strike and call wall are 260, 10 points below. So Karma FX, if Tesla is going to make it up to 270, it has to get through the 260 level first. That is, again, so that should act as resistance. So it's important to note there. You can see all of the high amount of gamma at that level. Again, that's the call wall that is expected to act as resistance. So to get to 268, Tesla's going to have to make it through the 260 level first. And let's take a look at one other thing here. Let's go to history. and see how the levels have shifted today. So first of all, the call wall shifted significantly lower from 300 to 260. All right, so that is bearish. And then also the put wall shifted lower from 250 to 240, also bearish, but I would interpret this shift lower in the call wall as more bearish. So we'll keep an eye on this tomorrow and see how if these levels shift, keeping in mind that the order flow and hedging flow for right now for Tesla are positive. Right, so again, the key point there is to get to 268, Tesla's going to have to get through the 260 level first. Let's go take a look at Bookmap. All right, so it looks like Tesla's having some trouble at the 250 level. All right, let's take a look at the broad market. Let's go back to the S&P 500. S&P 500 making its way back up to the high of the cash open, the 448 level. Let's see what options traders are doing. So right now for the S&P 500, options traders are taking the opposite, taking negative delta positions, and price continues to increase. There was a strong correlation this morning. That's pretty typical, and then that is that relationship really is no longer holding this afternoon. This is one reason I really enjoy trading equity single stocks versus the index, is there is often a very strong correlation between options trades, hedging flow, and price action throughout the day. Much easier to read and interpret. All right, let's take a look at the NASDAQ. And pretty similar situation. Options traders fading the move. Maybe this will take longer to play out. Maybe tomorrow. Options traders taking negative delta positions, and price is still starting to move higher. Let's go take a look at Bookmap. All right, so the S&P 500 this afternoon is a little bit stronger than NASDAQ. Remember, the S&P 500 has made it back up to the around the opening print and at the cash open, and NASDAQ so far has not done that. All right, let's take a look. I've got a minute or two left. Anyone have any stocks they want me to take a look at before I wrap it up here? Let's take a look at NVIDIA, see what it's doing. So NVIDIA continues the move higher. Aggressive buyers coming in. Trend break, pullback. long entry, multiple long entries on the way up. Let's go back to Tesla and see how it is resolving with a test of the 250 level. So now the sweeps indicator is showing there was a buy sweep, shown by the small green dots up to the 250 level, then a sell sweep down. Remember, we saw the flip of the book there. Traders coming in with limit buy orders. Those were consumed with the sell sweep, and we can see the absorption there. And now aggressive buyers are starting to come in. And let's see what options traders are doing and see if they're supporting this move. Let's go back to Tesla. And so far Tesla options traders continue to take positive delta positions, and I would definitely be looking for a long here. Not a recommendation, by the way. So options traders taking positive delta positions. So they are buying calls and selling puts. Both notional values are positive. Buying calls, selling puts. Market makers take the opposite side of that, and they have to buy stock to hedge their delta exposure. So we'll take one last look at Bookmap. So now it looks like some sellers have come in at 250. So Tesla may struggle at that level a bit, consolidate, just like it did at the around the 249 level before resolving higher. All right, RS says, great stream. Thank you. Thanks for the compliment. Thanks for your kind words. All right, that's all I have for today. I want to thank everyone for watching. Thank you for your questions and comments, and I will see you tomorrow. Thanks again. Bye.